This is the GPL podcast, part of the Pull Tab Sports family.
Oh boy. Jupe making mistakes. I love it.
Wait a second. Hair game on GPL. It's elite style. You guys got stylists.
You know, a good recruiting tip is like, where can I get a good drink around here?
Now, here's Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 293. 4 losses in a row, Vigs. 4 losses in a row.
I mean,
sorry, it's not much of an introduction. It's just
I don't like being right when I pick a sweep against the Gophers, but I don't feel like this was a surprise that this was going to be the result in Madison. To a lot of people.
no, but I paying attention to some of our guy Drew and Nate's podcast. They're saying, Drew found out that the last time they lost 4 in a row was against Penn State in 2018 when they did the back-to-back at the end of the season and the beginning of the playoffs. Don Lucia's last 4 games as a coach.
Those were some dark times for Gopher hockey back then.
And these aren't?
Here's the thing. We talked to Axel Begley about this today. He was before the media, hasn't been in front of us a lot, but he basically said that the message from the coaching staff is you would rather go through this in October than February.
True.
I mean, you don't want to go through it at all. I mean, I could just hear a lot of Gopher fans saying that right now that they don't expect that.
Well,
you don't want to go through this kind of stretch, but there is time for them to figure things out.
There is time, but there might not be time with the NPI. You might have to get pretty hot and win a lot of games to make up for the beginning of the season.
Here's one thing with the MPI. The Gophers are very lucky to be in the Big Ten. As I put this in my top 20 article, the Big Ten has done very well in non-conference games. By far the best conference. The second best conference is the NCHC, and then you have Hockey East. And they put in a new rule this year. You don't want to get in this way, but if you have an under 500 record, but you're in the top teams, you can make the tournament this year with that new change. So Jim Connolly on the USCHO podcast this week was talking about how the Big Ten could have a team under 500 make the tournament this year because the league is so strong.
I don't like that. Yeah,
I don't like it either, but
yeah,
you play by the rules that are out there. Some coaches probably don't like having CHL players, but they chose to add them to their roster, and it's really shaken up college hockey this year.
It is, and it's one of the criticisms that Gopher fans are having. Bob didn't want to partake in that. Is it legit? Is it legit excuse, or is it still wait and see?
I think they probably wouldn't be going through as many struggles as they are right now if they had added a right shot D, a first round type talent who could help move the puck for them. I think if they would have added a first round type talent up front, it would have eased things for Minnesota on the scoring front. We haven't seen a Gopher team have this low of shots, this low of goals for, this kind of goal margin in many, many years. Credit to Gopher Game Notes.
Yeah.
Like we're looking at, the 60s and 70s for some of these stats.
Early 70s before I was born. Yeah.
It's old when it was before Jupe was born.
Just turned 53.
So if they would have grabbed a couple CHL guys, maybe they wouldn't be going through this kind of pain right now. the long picture of this is that the coaching staff likes the recruits that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Bob said, this is not great. I'm not happy with it. He joked that his wife locked him out of the house this week until he fixed this. He got phone calls from other coaches saying, hey, it's about time you had a season like this because we've been doing this a lot and you've never had to go through this.
Yeah, but
So,
did he leave a message for the Vigs saying, I need some coaching advice since you're pretty active in coaching? Did he ask for that yet? He hasn't dropped to that level yet, has he?
no, he hasn't gone there, and I think his eyes are probably better than mine when it comes to coaching. But as an observer, he is trying to put a team that he thinks will get better. And I don't necessarily think it's been the freshmen that have been the issues for the program right now.
I would agree. I don't think so.
There are some sophomores and some juniors that need to be more assertive with their games, and they need to be the ones to lead the Gophers into the fight. And we saw that against Wisconsin this weekend. It wasn't pretty. Bad mistakes. The penalty kill in particular has not been very good lately. And the coaching staff is basically saying, hey, we had 4 times to clear the puck where we didn't get it out of the zone and the other team got it and scored a couple seconds later. You cannot have your leaders doing that with your program. So if you're going to start changing things, executing simple plays when you need to execute is top of the list right now.
Yeah, the special teams has been rather bad. You talk about the kill there. They're 20 for 30, basically, giving up a goal 33% of the time. Their power play is at, I think, 3 goals on the year at 12% success rate. We've been, the power play, it's kind of been like that for quite a few years. It's not been what traditionally we'd be used to, the plus 20%. It's been in the teens a lot the last couple of years. It's not something they've been able to figure out as much, I would say, in the whole Motzko era.
Yeah, Bob really wants his power plays to be creative. He wants to take the reins off and let them, create opportunities almost out of chaos. He doesn't want to have a lot of predetermined routes, predetermined sets. And I think sometimes players rely on that as a crutch on the power play, and it leads to a lot of easy kills for the opposition. And I think when you have players who aren't playing confidently or they're frustrated, it can be tough to execute the way Bob wants a power play to execute. I do like the first power play group when Lucky's been in there. I thought that's been a real dynamic look with him. Mooney has been good on the power play. Luke Middlestat has probably been one of the MVPs for the Gophers so far through this stretch. You can't really fault his play so far this season, but there's a couple other players that need to figure things out. And Bob said today, I'm confident of one thing. We're going to be a better team as the season goes forward. He would like to speed it up, but it's just not happening right now.
Well, some of it does come back to fundamentals. Yes, their power play numbers are not great. Their penalty kill numbers are not great. But that kind of goes along with some face-offs, Vigs. Defensive zone face-offs when a power play starts for the other team, losing that. I would love to know the percentages of, critical face-offs. They count them all, but I don't know if we really count, offensive zone face-off when you're not on the power play, or defensive zone face-off when you're on the penalty kill compared to center ice, all that stuff. The perception for me is, you lose the face-off right away on a power play and you're chasing, and you have to try to reestablish control in the zone. And a lot of times by that time, you may have to come in a second time. And it's already time for a shift. And we all know what happens on the defensive zone when they get control. They're starting their power play just like that, and they've got time to set up, time to do their thing. So that's where my concern comes from the faceoffs. It seems like they're just spending a lot of time. Just win a faceoff.
Yeah, it hasn't been pretty, and I guarantee you that the team knows the numbers for special teams draws, and they tried some different things and have guys on their strong side who aren't typically taking draws sometimes take them. Uh, it's definitely something that they've been working on for almost the last couple of years, trying to get guys who are better at draws. And some of it does come with experience. I think, when you've got veteran players that know how hard it is to win faceoffs and pick up all the little tricks along the way, that pays off. Usually the guys who lead the country in faceoffs aren't freshmen. They're seasoned veterans who've stuck around for a while and learned some tricks and have that, strength of a 23 or 24-year-old senior. And Minnesota just hasn't had a lot of centers who could really do that. Ben Myers might be one of the last real dominant centers for the Gophers in the faceoff circle. It's an element that they really miss, I think.
Well, I'm noticing quite a less familiar names in the chat tonight, Viggs. Not the same old crowd. I think there might be some frustrated fans because, a lot of, I'll just say a lot of fans, hey, we should have picked up a CHL guy. We picked up a D3 guy instead of filling it with a CHL guy with that played a tougher schedule, and we still have a roster spot open. I think those are all legitimate gripes, but we also don't know what's in Bob's head either. So it's really, it's tough to say. And, Bob is more old school and he's going to be a little more conservative in some of these changes, but I think there's an argument both sides with the people frustrated and with what Bob is trying to do.
I'm sure with the injuries Minnesota's had, that Bob is probably having some second guessing on how he decided to go into this year. I think he was caught a little off guard with having so many departures. He said on KFan this summer when he was talking to PA about the schedule, he's like, I expected this team to be loaded. He expected to have Oliver Moore back. He expected to have Ryan Chesley back. There was a chance that Sam Renzel maybe would come back for another year. There's a chance Matthew Wood, who scored tonight for the Predators in the NHL, would have been back for another year. I think you expected to lose Jimmy Snuggerud. Connor Kurth could have been a player who'd be back this year, and he's playing in the AHL. And it's not like these guys have really gone into successful teams in the NHL besides Snuggerud and made an impact. They're still kind of developing with their pro franchises, playing AHL games. So you can see his thinking that this team didn't have as many holes as they ended up having going into this year. But he's choosing to take his licks right now. And so some of this is self-inflicted because he's stuck with guys he recruited and guys he liked rather than going in the portal for, the USA Hockey head coach for the World Juniors coming up. Probably wanted to stay behind USA players as much as he could.
So let's take a look at this past weekend. 5-2 loss Thursday evening, a 4-0 loss on Saturday. Obviously, they're broken up, the whole thing with TV. Yes, yeah, whatever. I know everyone thought they played better on Friday, but still blanked on the scoreboard. I have a hard time getting behind it. Yeah, they played better. I'm like, you still lost 4-0. It's sure there's positives in there, but you still lost 4-0. Viggs, help me off the ledge.
I'm gonna have a hard time helping you off the ledge.
Yeah,
it was not a good weekend. I think they got out attempted in shots 2-1. I can't remember.
Well, the shots Friday totals. Night, Thursday night were like 40 something to the teens,
right? And I think I saw Brad Schlossman mentioned the Gophers didn't have a grade A chance on Saturday. I mean, these are things that you just don't expect to see with Minnesota hockey, and just the number of shifts where it's such a struggle to break out of the zone, and then there's a lack of finish to the shift to allow the next line to have a chance to do something other than defend.
It's the connecting shifts you've been talking to us about for years. Connecting shifts.
Yes. And I think this team has gotten through a funk in October where there's just a negativity where they're not fighting through it mentally. And they're not saying, okay, it's okay just to tie a shift or to hold off the other team from getting any momentum for a little bit. And eventually maybe we'll get a bounce and things will go away. Instead, you're seeing the Gophers get into that cycle of just defending and defending and defending. And it's a hard way to play the game, especially when you get frustrated and you start taking stick penalties like Minnesota has. Very uncharacteristic of a Bob Moscow coach team to take as many stick penalties and bad penalties as they've taken. And then to have your penalty kill not be able to take care of those on top of it just makes it too difficult for a team that's not scoring.
I'm still on the cliff. Well, and a lot of people are, and we could. The message board has been a little more active the last couple weeks on GPL. That shootout win against whatever against BC, and playing BC tough is not looking as good anymore because BC's on the verge of dropping out of the top 20 themselves. It's I can feel where the fans are at right now. I totally can feel it.
Yeah, I think BC probably is going to be a team that's going to be okay at the end of the year. Michigan Tech, a team that's probably going to be okay in CCHA at the end of the year. It looks like North Dakota, Minnesota, Duluth, and Wisconsin are all pretty good teams right now. So going through that schedule with this roster with a team that can't outscore its mistakes is hard to watch. And it's not what Gopher fans are used to. And Bob said something really interesting today. He's like, when we went to Tampa, we had 11,000 fans with us and things were going great. And he said the players have to accept that those 11,000 fans are going to be just as upset when they see their team go through a 2-7-1 stretch like they've done in October. And they've got to wear that because you can't have all the support when things are going well and not expect any criticism when it's not. And so I think this team can't shy away from the results right now and can't shy away from the work, because I do think it's going to have to be a little bit different team this year if they're going to be successful, because the offense isn't coming easy. So they're going to have to cut out the mistakes.
I look at the goaltending. Funny thing is, people said that's going to be so tricky this year. And honestly, they haven't been terrible at all. Neither of them. I think they've both held their own. I don't think there's, I thought that Michigan State or that goal that Luka let in early, at home a couple weeks ago was a little iffy.
The Duluth goal that
yeah.
It might have ramped off the stick.
Yeah,
it looked like it was kind of a screen and maybe an odd deflection to me. You couldn't see it real well on the replay for that one, but that was kind of a shot that looked like it went through the defender's shaft on its way to the net, and those can sometimes be tricky. But I don't think goaltending's been the fault.
Yeah, but at the beginning of the season, we kind of felt that. We're just not sure on goaltending.
On the flip side, I don't think either goalie has really stepped forward to be number one. So neither one of them has really stood on his head.
They're getting a challenge. They're certainly getting challenged.
If you were looking at Nebraska Omaha, they certainly have a goalie who's standing on his head right now. I think he's seen like 60% high danger chances, and he's still got like an under 2 goals against average. And that's why Omaha is a dangerous team right now. But I don't think we're expecting that out of Erie or DePasqua.
All right. Falloon out. What do we know about Falloon?
Upper body injury, 3 to 4 weeks. I saw him running the stairs at Mariucci today.
Basically kind of almost the end of the first part of the season.
Yeah. So he's going to miss, he's going to be able to try to keep his legs with some conditioning, but he won't be able to play for 3 or 4 weeks.
Thomas, last I heard, was about 50-50 for this weekend, but more likely maybe next weekend.
I think that's coach speak, hoping it's 50-50.
Because he said that last week as well.
Right.
We kind of thought he might be back last week, and there was no sign of him.
Yeah, he didn't skate today or yesterday. They'll evaluate him tomorrow. I would think it's unlikely we see him back for Notre Dame. And if he misses Notre Dame, do you really want to risk him against Long Island, or do you want to give him another weekend off? We'll see. Or maybe you play him just one of those games to try to get him back into it. Yeah. Just keep him fresh. But Cal Thomas is a pretty critical part of this team, and I think it would be reckless to put him in there if the doctors weren't 100% clear on it.
Ludke out, still a virus. We're all just thinking, well, it's got to be mono. That's the only thing that makes sense. But maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
And with mono, there can be the swelling of the spleen. If that's what's happening, that could be a real dangerous situation.
Just so run down. It's hard
and the fatigue. So that's just something they're going to have to deal with. He looked like a transfer that just really fit this program and really stepped right in and dealt with the pressure very well. Bob's saying a lot of guys are in the first choir chairs right now this year that have never been there. They got to sit in the back, and it's quite a different experience. But for Darren Ludke, it seems like he's fit in just fine. Hopefully he gets back soon.
And it sounds like might hear from Townsend fairly soon. That's really the first we've heard about him after his injuries.
Yeah, today was the first time I've seen him skate with the team during their practice. He had the red cross on, so he was kind of out of contact and things, but he was actually out there on the ice with the team. That's the first I've seen him play with them since probably in the early preseason.
What can we expect from him? I mean, I'm guessing they want to try to at least hopefully cross all dot I's and cross T's. They want to get him in probably before the winter break. But honestly, it's even if he does that, we're probably not going to see the real Teddy Townsend until probably the beginning of 2026.
Yeah, I think we've seen some players with upper body injuries come back, and it kind of takes them a while to get the feel for the game again, because it's just something where they haven't been able to handle pucks and traffic and deal with the contact and things like that. He does bring an element of speed and skill that the Gophers could use right now. You look at the roster, there's a lot of size throughout, but you haven't seen a ton of speed and skill besides, guys like Mooney on the roster. So it's an element that they probably need right now. I just don't know how much it's going to help right away for them.
Interesting. Both Cappy was asking you and I about him just a couple of weeks ago, because he saw him play and he really likes what Teddy Townsend could bring to this team potentially.
Yeah, I mean, he's a player where at the junior level, that speed and skill can really flash. I always wonder how well that can translate to college, where the players are bigger, the spaces are tighter, the structure is a little more organized, and how skilled are they? The speed and skills there, but executing it at the college level is always a leap that you don't really know about until you see it in play. And it's hard to tell in practice right now how quick he's going to be able to adjust.
Okay. Well, I'm feeling better about the injuries. At least we know something about him, and I'm excited to see him when he gets out there. And I'm really excited to see him in January if everything goes well with his healing and everything like that. But before we get to our next segment, though, Viggs, we've got Gateway Fiber to talk about on the north side of the cities.
That's right. You need fiber internet in today's era. Like, you got to have it. And state of hockey, bad internet connection, like a bad line change, slows you down, causes chaos, might even lose you the game. You need to be connected. You got to put shifts together just like the Gophers, and Gateway Fiber is here to keep your internet skating at full speed. They've been taking on big cable, offering fast speeds, reliability, customer service, and 2 gigabit second speed. Keep your internet on the power play all game long. Visit gatewayfiber.com or call 1-888-201-4339 to see if Gateway Fiber is available in your area, because life is too short for bad internet. And Jupe is muted. 2 minutes for Jupe. Feel shame.
I feel shame.
Go sit in the box.
I go to the box.
We're gonna have to kill this off. Hopefully,
you talk better than top 20.
Hopefully, it's better than 30% for the kill for us. Top 20. Luckily for the Gophers, look at this top 3: Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State. Michigan State didn't play this last weekend, but they've done very well this year, setting things up. They've got a lot of talent. Everybody loves them. Michigan swept Notre Dame. They split with Western Michigan. They beat UMass Lowell. They're rolling. Penn State swept Ohio State. They beat Stonehill, LIU. They're taking care of business. Bucci Gross loves seeing Gavin McKenna play. Very good for the Big Ten to have them 1, 2, 3.
It wasn't more than probably less than a month ago. We're like, where's Minnesota Duluth? Where's St. Cloud in the poll? We're kind of poking fun at them. Oh, look at that. They're in the top 10 now, Vigs.
Yeah, Minnesota Duluth looking very strong after taking care of business against Minnesota and then splitting with North Dakota. Very impressive stretch of hockey for Scott Sandelin. Watching the Plant brothers and Shagabe, very impressive. And they're getting great goaltending from Guyon. So the Bulldogs look like they're for real, and so does the NCHC. So they're well deserved with North Dakota and Minnesota Duluth in there. Denver, little bit of struggles here and there. Splitting with Anchorage, not something we're familiar with the David Carl team. I think they did beat BC, but BC's dropping down in the polls here. So it'll be interesting to see how Denver goes moving forward here.
So, first time Minnesota's not been in the poll since February of 2020. Yes.
Yeah, and they've earned it. They've played a tough
True.
schedule. All those early departures did not help for this year's start, and they're paying for it. And I did keep them in my top 20 last week at 19, based on giving them the benefit of the doubt. But when they go to Wisconsin and play like they did, they're out, and they've got to prove it. Funny enough, Gopher Game Notes noted that last time they dropped out of the poll, guess who they played?
Notre Dame.
So a little bit of a full circle moment there for Minnesota hockey.
Wisconsin moving up quick, obviously sweep of Minnesota and how they played. They haven't lost a game yet. So that's
I
good.
kind of held back on Wisconsin. I didn't think they played the toughest schedule, but I trust Brad Schlossman, who ranked them very highly in his preseason prediction poll, thinking they would be a top 5 team this year. I don't know if they're quite there yet, but they've put together an impressive start to their season.
Hey, you go to Michigan this weekend, you could split that or better. I think they'll move into a top 10 team, at least. I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I think Tom Molesky was saying if they can split the next 2 or 3 weekends here, they'll kind of cement themselves in a top 10 spot.
And you've got the Boston teams moving down. We were joking earlier today. When's the last time Minnesota, BU, and BC were not in the top 20? I reached out to Gopher Game Notes, and it wasn't that long ago. It was towards the end of the 2019 season.
Which is just shocking to me.
Yeah, I don't remember it being that way, but
you just think of them as blue blood programs that having all 3 of them be out. And that was kind of during the era where I think the Minnesota State fans were starting to, get high on the hog there and thinking, things are changing in college hockey. The blue bloods are down and we're coming to the forefront, and, things are going to change.
Yeah, it was the March 25th, 2019 poll, which was probably right after, the tournaments just about getting ready for the NCAA tournament. He also noted that Michigan and Wisconsin were also not ranked, and North Dakota was at number 20 at the time. So holy buckets, are those some big teams that were not doing so well in 2019 Bigs.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how we've seen everything change around there.
And you've got St. Cloud State sneaking in there. So, we poked fun at St. Cloud and Duluth earlier this season. Where are you? And now we're the ones that are going.
Yep. Sorry, St. Cloud. Nice weekend splitting with Western Michigan. Kudos to you. That's a tough team to beat.
Oh, yes.
The Broncos are struggling a little bit. I think they've done pretty well in terms of goals for and shots. They're just giving up more goals against than you would expect them to. Down the stretch last year, they were awfully stingy. They were not giving up more than 1 or 2 goals a game during their title run stretch there. And I think, they have some turnover. They have some CHL players. They have some transfers. It's taking a while for Schwal to figure out how to organize that team. St. Cloud took advantage.
Well, good for them, definitely. I've got a couple notes here, Vigs, on Wisconsin heading to Michigan, Penn State heading to Michigan State. Obviously, huge games in the Big Ten this weekend. You have number 2 at number 1 and number 11 at number 2 or number 3 at number 1. Sorry. That's going to be interesting to see where these teams are really at.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like the top 4 in the Big Ten right now is UW, Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State. They're going to be the ones fighting out. All the teams have good goaltending. All the teams are putting out high offense totals right now. It'll be interesting to see. It's hard to expect anything more than splits out of these games, just with how college hockey is. I'll be surprised if any team does pull out a sweep, and that's quite a feather in their cap if they can pull it off. I think the team most likely to pull off a sweep could be Wisconsin. We do think, as highly as Michigan's, ranked right now and as much talent as they have, we've often seen the Dorado teams struggle sometimes during the regular season in these moments. So I will be watching that closely as the scores tick away this weekend.
Interesting. Oh, we got Alex Micheletti. He no love for Mankato.
They got to win a few more games. I mean, they're splitting with a lot of teams right now. RPI sweeping them. That's kind of expected, I think, for these programs. But when you split with St. Thomas, and I'm trying to think who the other team they split with recently, but I need to see a CCHA team start to pull away from the pack and not just have splits.
And St. Thomas is only there this year. They're done. They're over to the NCHC next year, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you look at the CCHA; they're pretty down there in the conference rankings. I was taking a look at that. I think they're last. They're below Atlantic Hockey right now in terms of their non-conference records.
Oh, jeez, the Wild just gave up a late goal, didn't they? Somebody's tweeting effing Wild, and all of a sudden I see Stamkos scores at the end of the third. Ah, jeez. Yeah, Mote, we appreciate you pushing us to get there. We're at 812, trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We appreciate everyone watching. We're just trying to build this brand as much as we can. And we love your support. I saw Steve there says, I used another account to subscribe. So great, Steve.
I don't know if I recommend that. We want the real subscriber base, but we appreciate it, Steve. We appreciate it.
0.2 and Stamkos scored. Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Okay, so you think Wisconsin's got a better chance?
If I was betting my pizza money on the college hockey lines, I would be thinking Wisconsin would be a tasty choice this weekend. And I feel like I have to look at the DraftKings lines on those games just to see if they have those yet.
Gambling ruins families.
It does. I don't think their line's out yet for the weekend. That's the negative of having our show on Tuesday. But I do look at the odds to win the national championship. Michigan 7-1. Wisconsin's down there at 50-1 still. So I have to think going to this weekend, the odds would be pretty good for Wisconsin.
That's a name thing.
It is.
It really is.
And that's how odds work a lot of times. So
yeah. What do you do? Well, before we get into this weekend, Viggs, we still have another sponsor to talk about, and it's your favorite place to shop for all the needs you have, Cub Foods.
I'm going to be down at my Quarry Cub tomorrow. I've got to pick up some items for dinner, and I know that every time I go to Cub, their inventory is great, and they're going to have me covered. If I'm looking for something fall, Cub's the place to go. Fresh pick apples, pumpkin spice, everything. I know my Quarry Cub bakery has so many fall treats. I'm lucky I'm on the ice enough to burn off those calories from having those tasty morsels of fall. So whether you're baking, hosting a game day, craving a cozy night in, Cub has the flavors that make fall feel like fall. So swing by your local Cub, stock up. They are one of us. They support our podcast. They support Wild on 7th, Pull Tab, PJ Flex, Helmet. Shop Cub, shop happy.
Quick question on some of your cooking and stuff, Viggs. Now, when you're at Cub, are you buying a crust, or are you just buying the ingredients to make a good crust for
For
your
pizza,
Friday night pizza for your pizzas?
I am getting high quality Italian 00 flour, and I'm getting
Okay.
high quality Red Star or Caputo active yeast, and then I'm just adding some water. Sometimes I'll use the Maldon salt, the fancy salt
Oh,
that you
yeah.
can
Yeah.
get. I'll get some of that, and that's your crust. It's simple, good ingredients,
Oh,
time, and care. The key to good crust, if people follow me on the Instagram, is starting early. So if I'm making pizza on Friday, the best crust is when I start it on Tuesday or Wednesday. I let it cold ferment in the fridge, and then on game day, Friday night, I take it out midday or in the morning. Then it bubbles up and you get the tremendous air pockets, do some
you're
folds.
making me hungry. Stop it, man.
It's a Vigo household tradition to make
It
pizza
is.
at least once a week.
I love seeing it. I love seeing it. Notre Dame coming to town, Vigs. They're going to look a little different, as in their coach is completely gone, and we've got somebody new in there, and he's learning as he goes.
He is learning as he goes. Brock Sheehan is the new guy behind the bench there. Jeff Jackson and his defensive structure is gone. So I think we could eventually see some change to the style Notre Dame hockey plays over the
Okay.
years. Sheehan's got a little bit of a pro CHL background, I think, in his coaching tree. So just some new blood, and he's got a bunch of new assistants with him. The roster at Notre Dame still has guys like Knubel and Nelson, names that are very familiar to Minnesota fans who've seen those guys step up their game every time they play the Gophers. It seems like they really get up for it. Every time Notre Dame plays at Mariucci, there's a strong contingent of Fighting Irish fans in the building. I don't know if there's going to be enough of them to provide a great atmosphere this weekend. Crowds have been down a little bit this year, but I think we're going to see a very competitive series. It's a good one for Minnesota at this point because it's not one of those premier teams in the country right now with the coaching change and kind of the roster the Irish have. So it's an opportunity for Minnesota to get healthy. And Bob said to his team, October, that's done. Let's have a good November. And it starts with Notre Dame.
Andrew Carlson, how many Slaggetts are there now?
I think they're down to the last one, maybe. The last Slaggert is still on the roster. So there have been a bunch of them. The dad has left the coaching staff, though. He's moved on to pro scouting.
They're always good when they come to Mariucci. They're always good. They took 2 of 3 and knocked us out of the Big Ten playoffs last year. Yes, new coaching staff, but I think that mentality is really still going to be there.
Well, I think they'll lean heavy on Knubel and Nelson. Like those two were just possessed last year in the playoff games, and they basically won it for Notre Dame. I think they were thrown out there pretty much every other shift at the end of the game, and Minnesota didn't have a response for them. I think we kept waiting last year for Minnesota to flip the switch and become a more dominant team, and it just didn't happen. And I think as we saw with all the early departures, maybe the writing was on the wall in those kind of moments that this wasn't a team that was going to figure it out. And Notre Dame really pushed their buttons last year.
Well, that's my concern. I do not want to imagine the fan base just losing on Friday night, because that will be 5 in a row. And
yeah.
Oh boy, I'm going as a fan Friday night. I'm taking my daughter. She says, "Dad, I want to get to a game before I get too big." She's due in January 24th. She's like, I don't want to be too pregnant to go to a game, so let's go this weekend. I'm taking Craig Flores tickets. Going to use them up for Friday night. It's going to be fun. And had breakfast with her the other morning, and Barb goes across the table. Well, this year. And she was okay with it, but she's like, I'm like, come on, Barb, help me out here. But it'll be my chance to go as a fan, which I'm looking forward to. It's so I can relax and not worry about getting the shot or thinking about a question that I might have to ask Bob.
And the media attendance has not been spectacular, and I don't think that's necessarily going to change for a team with the record Minnesota
Are you
has
going
right
to be
now.
there Friday? Do you know yet?
It's still up in the air what I'm going to do. I'm going to come to one of the two games this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure it out with my hockey schedule, family schedule. So I like to go more often on Saturday night because you have a good reflection of the weekend and you can ask more bigger questions. A lot of times when you go to the post game on Friday night, the coach is very worried about the next night. And so you're not going to get the best responses to questions. You can pretty much ask about the game itself and get good answers there. But any big picture program perspective questions, you're not going to get much until the weekend's over. So that's why I like going Saturday. So we'll see.
Well, I will go down after the game and try to get video. I hope I'm not the only one down there. It's like, well, yeah, Ryan, yeah. 0 questions for Bob with no jupe. Well, most times 0 questions with jupe there because I'll actually watch the game on Friday.
You're getting better with your questions, even it's just you there. So
I know you guys just tell me, just ask him to get him started and he'll talk, and he does.
He usually does. He's pretty friendly with you. So
yeah, he's getting better with me. So that's good. I usually sit in the background, folks. I start the video and I just back away to let guys like Vigs and whoever else is there ask the questions. So
yeah, I'm really curious this weekend to see if there are any changes to penalty kill units or personnel thrown out there, because I feel like Bob likes to give guys lots of chances early in the year to figure things out. But once we get into conference games, sometimes there are consequences for your actions. And if you're taking bad penalties, if you're not clearing pucks, if you're not competing for 50-50, situations on faceoffs to help out your center, the consequences start to add up and playing time maybe gets taken away from some guys. And I do wonder if this is a weekend where we see some of that. It's a little bit harder with 4 players out of the lineup.
I was just thinking that.
But at the same point, you've got to get the ice time to some guys because you can't just pour it all on a couple. So I do wonder if this is a part of the year where we start to see some messages being sent. I've heard from the players that the film sessions have been very stern lately, and the players are being told, these are things that are unacceptable. As we hear right in our comments, Tim saying surprised John Middlestad's not one of the main PK guys. That's the guy who's going to give effort on every faceoff in every play.
Yes.
And he's a guy who will bear down to clear pucks. I think that's a valid point, and I would certainly give it a chance if I was the coach. If Bob were to call me, I would say, hey, what about Mitz on the PK? Because he's got lots of energy. So
he does. He definitely does.
And I think the coach has been impressed with some of the freshmen. I think he's more impressed with the freshmen than with the sophomores and juniors.
Yeah.
I think we've seen progress from Rombach. I think we've seen progress from McLaughlin. I think we've seen progress with Mason Moe. Javon Moore has made some progress here. We need some of those older guys to make progress as well if this team's going to go anywhere.
Jimmy Clark's going to bag a couple goals this weekend. I'm saying it right now.
He's been close. He is one of those.
Bag a couple.
He's one of those players that he's got a bunch of pipes that he's rung this year. He's a player they need to get going.
He had a nice setup with Brody Zemer on one of the goals Thursday night. That was a great setup. I would like to see him score because I think it would take a little pressure off him too.
I thought it was interesting that at the end of the Wisconsin game, the line that got the second chance, I think, late was Moe, Hendrickson, Pritchard. I thought that was an interesting statement by the coach to send them out there at the end of the game. Just something to kind of watch.
Okay.
I think the coach likes some things he's seen from them, and the coaches send messages with who they put out in those spots. I don't think the coach is one of those guys who sometimes will send messages with the line chart, but getting ice time in key situations is one way that they send messages.
All right, give me your prediction. What are the points this weekend?
The coaching staff said that they are going to get this team as prepared as possible to have a good Friday night, as they've done all season. I think there is just a ton of focus on them getting that Friday night effort, because so many times this year they haven't. I'm feeling like Wednesday night's a win. And I think Saturday night we see Knubel.
I hope it's Friday night, not Wednesday night.
Yeah, you definitely hope it's Friday, not Wednesday. But then I think you see Notre Dame have a pushback and we go to OT on Saturday. And I think we see a shootout win for the Gophers. So 5
points.
5 points this weekend.
5 points.
We actually get to have points this weekend.
All right.
Conference game. 5 points Gophers.
Unlike 0 points last weekend.
I mean, I predicted last weekend.
Oh,
so
you did.
Why can't I predict this weekend?
Accurately? Funny, we didn't get a nasty email from Brian Deutsch this last weekend. He blamed us the weekend before, but now you're accurate and he's not mad. Maybe he should.
That just shows the depth of the worry of the program right now, is you can't.
It's true.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen this weekend?
I am also going to say 5 points, but it's not going to be shootout. It'll be an overtime win during the 5 minutes.
We're going to see LJ without OT winner?
Maybe, I'm not saying. There we go. Clark. Jimmy Clark in overtime Saturday night to get the 5 points. Hope we don't get yelled at. If they get like 1 or 2 points, next week's show is going to be bad, Vigs.
Yeah,
if they get swept, oh boy, we might have all-time viewership for all the people ticked off.
Yeah, that would be a bad spot to be in for Minnesota.
Yeah. What do you do? What do you do?
I understand what Bob is doing right now with how he's communicating to the team, how he's trying to communicate to the fan base, even if the fans don't want to hear it. This is a weekend where they have to show progress. If they don't show progress this weekend against one of the teams that's probably going to be near the bottom of the Big Ten, you start to get worried. So you really hope you see a response from your team. And the worst thing that could happen, I think, for Minnesota would be to get off to a bad start and take some bad penalties, give up goals against there. That would really be a hole that they haven't really shown ability to dig out of. So I think you need to see a team that cleans up its mistakes, because they're not going to be outscoring their mistakes this year. And it's going to be really critical for them to do that on Friday. So it's in their hands. It is. I fear for the message board and social media, especially the Facebook posts, if things go pear-shaped.
Somebody registered this week or after I think on Sunday. And I always check to make sure they're legit. I do my best I can so the spammers don't get through. And their reason for registering, it just said complain.
We're a safe space.
And I'm like, I was glad that the person was honest. Because you can tell when it's a spammers, they just throw whatever text in there. This person just said, I'm here to complain, and he's not happy. And well, welcome aboard. Hopefully we can turn you and make you happy, or hopefully the team can. So welcome aboard. I feel for you.
As Leo Gruba told me today, he's like, they're not going out there trying to lose to put it in the fans' face. Like they want to win.
Of course they do.
He actually told a story today about when he was growing up playing youth hockey. I think they won the state title as Pee-wees with his East Metro. It was like Johnson, Como, North St. Paul. They won like a Pee-wee A title, and their goalie quit in the offseason. He wanted to focus on something else. It's like, hockey's too much time, don't want to do it. So they started their Banamir with a new goalie. And he said they went 0-15 through the first half of the season. And he said it was just tough because they were used to playing a certain way. And with a new goalie in net, they had to really adjust. And he said, they figured it out. They got through their district. They got in the regional tournament. I don't think they made state that year, but he said it was a great learning experience for him as a player that, there's two ways you can go when stuff like this happens. And the only way up is through. And when you got guys with that kind of attitude, like Leo Gerba, we'll see. We'll see if they can stick through it.
That would be good. That would definitely be good. So you got anything else, Figs? You ready for a little bit of overtime here?
Little bit of overtime. A weekend like this does make me thirsty, so I'm looking for a little OT chat because
I might need to have Barbie get me some more water. I'm almost out here.
It is tough. I'm looking forward. My barrel picks from Buffalo Trace are coming to Minnesota this week. So
the twisted wrister, top shelf, where Mama keeps the Buffalo Trace.
Keep your eyes out on social media for egg becoming available.
Interesting. That's going to be good, Viggs. All right.
It's going to be real good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the GPL podcast. We'll be back next week to recap the Fighting Irish series and preview the Long Island series here. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully that is good too. But that's going to do it for all you watching live. Stay tuned for a bit of overtime. For the rest of you, we'll catch you next week on the GPL podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and get notified each time we go live or post a video. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate our show and leave a review. For those of you watching live, you know what's next. It's Vigo's Beverage of the Week. It's time for overtime.
There we go. A weekend like that calls for an aggressive beverage. And this week we have Abrasive Double IPA from Surly Brewing Company. This one is loaf of bread for an IPA. It's 9.2%. Aggressive, fruity, and bold. It's something we need to see from this Gopher hockey team this weekend. Maybe not the fruity part, but
I like the little Vikings Cup there. That was a good win for him. That was an impressive win Sunday.
Team JJ, man, that guy can ball out. So good to see. And we saw the Gophers beat Michigan State in other football news. So that was fun. I was actually at that game. Pretty fun to see. It's one of the few times in my Minnesota career that we've seen a call go our way.
When someone who watches the show, look, she even brought me more ice. Thank you, Barbie. Now I'm trying not to spill the ice. It's all sticking to the edge.
You can be on the wagon. I'll be off the wagon. So, yeah.
Thanksgiving episode's coming soon, though, folks.
You gotta rest up for that.
I don't know. It's just, let's see. I had a rusty nail Friday night. And then Yeah, Friday I was really hoping we'd have some decent weather on Halloween, I should say, but it was just kind of crappy, so I couldn't have a fire. So I had a fire after the game on Saturday night. But
do you burn any memorabilia?
do
you have any kind of like a seance or anything to try to get rid of the bad juju around the program?
I did not. I did have some players texting all ticked off and mad, and I don't blame them. They're mad, Vigs. I mean, it's not go for hockey what we're seeing. So I don't blame them for being upset. If it continues really bad, there's going to be a lot of outcry, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this season were to go poorly, transfer portal
could get ugly.
Could get ugly. Not only players leaving, but players coming in. This is big boy hockey. This is one of those levels where if the job's not getting done, you're going to find someone who will get the job done because there's money at stake for coaches. I'm sure Bob wants to see the recruiting class that's coming in 2 years come into a successful program. And there's never been a time where it's been easier to make over a roster if you want to. So if the players that you picked can't perform, it's easy to replace them.
Yeah. I see Gates Prep there. Groups on Facebook are full of jokes. I don't know what he's talking about, but I do know that the social media for U of M, sometimes they may want to just turn off the comments. I don't know if they can, but they should just do
it. They can, but it's very cowardly. Too.
I know, but man,
because you know what the best thing is if you can save the receipts.
True.
If they do turn around, it is always just so fun to see them have the screenshots, show the receipts.
The marketing team would never think to do that there, unfortunately.
They should, though. They should be taking screenshots of these things so they can.
Where's our guy? Where's our guy, Devin? Devin would have done it.
Oh, for sure.
Devin totally would have done it.
Yeah, he'd probably do like an in-arena bit on mean comments, like a Fallon show skit.
Devin, by the way, he's the one who started it. Let's Get Weird and had some fun with all those video clips and little wrestling stuff and the woo and what was that? I think he was at that game. Really,
I was a little disappointed in the crowd for the football game on Saturday. That was one of the first games I haven't seen the students. It's hard to blame them after the Iowa lost, but the Gophers are 6-0 at home this year. So,
yeah. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens if I click this button? Can I move you to the fake top? No, it won't let me do that. What's the other? I'm just trying to think of different buttons where we could do that and then maybe make it smaller. Let's make it tall. There we go.
Oh,
yeah. Make it bigger size. Oh, that's a little big. There we go. That's better. What's regular? See, I like tall. That kind of fills it up.
Tall's good.
There we go. Just playing around with some of the settings here. Our streaming service StreamYard's adding a bunch of little tiny things and trying to take advantage of some of it here. So
hopefully the coaching staff tinkers as much as you're tinkering right now.
I don't know, Viggs. It's I don't just worry about this team. I worry about recruits saying, "Ooh, what's going on at Minnesota?" I'm going to talk to some of the guys I talked with and I was being recruited. What's going on there? That's my biggest fear. We've got these next 2 years that are supposed to be pretty darn good classes, Viggs, and I'm concerned that somebody's going to say, thanks, but no thanks.
You can always feel that way, but the pull of the M is pretty strong.
It is, but
because I mean, my personal belief is that it's not coaching that's causing issues with this team right now.
It's effort.
Effort has been an issue. So I guess the one thing is competition for ice time would probably be the one thing that you could point at, is that probably should have grabbed a few more players. But at the same point, you can't predict the injuries that are happening either.
You can't, but I
think last year you should have read the room and be like, hey, we're going to lose a lot of guys to early departures and overcome that. I think that's a very fair point.
Yeah. And yeah, it's hard to argue that, really. It's, yes, there's some guys who, but it's hard to complain because you could have filled with some people. I mean, Kvasnika.
He needs to play another year.
True.
Junior. He's a smaller player. He didn't have a great year before going to Penticton. You can't go up a level looking for confidence. You need to have it when you get there. That has been proven over and over again. I wish Brody Lamb was a sophomore right now. I wish he was a sophomore because he's the same age as Harris, the Augsburg transfer.
Yeah,
he's a freshman. Jimmy Clark, he should be a freshman or a sophomore right now, but he's not. He's a junior. I think sometimes these decisions kind of impact you a little bit. And where's it gonna end? I think it's great that Hendrickson spent the extra year. I think it's great that Javon Moore kind of spent the extra year. I feel like Whipple, you wish he would have played another year somewhere.
Yeah.
So this year he was a confident player, and that buys you time, maybe with adding another player in the portal or something there to balance things out.
And the injuries have really not helped. The injuries have kind of bolstered that. Hey, why don't we have a full roster discussion by the angry fans?
Yeah, Bob wanted to save the spot in case one of the goalies got hurt. I think that was a big thing. I think that's pretty valid considering Erie has a little bit of an injury history, and DePasquale is unknown. So I think that makes some sense. I don't know what it looks like if they add a guy mid-season. Certainly feels like they almost have to. And that didn't work out very well when Clayton Phillips joined.
Yeah, it didn't.
And I don't know if adding Kwasnicka at the midway point, he's been good for Penticton.
Yeah,
I don't know if that is good for the relationship with Penticton going forward, or if that's enough for this team to do. Because the Big Ten is going to be brutal in the second half. That is going to be a gauntlet to add a player mid-year.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
Frustrating?
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a bit.
I mean, even both, our accounts on Twitter. Well, for one thing, any loss, and it's like, this team sucks. They can't do this. And this year's just been pinch a little more extra dust on the top.
There's a lot of commentary out there.
Even some fake commentary, which we saw with Tony Liebert.
Tony Liebert getting a fake account claiming unhappy parents and families and locker room drama, which I would not be surprised if there is some of it.
Well, yeah, but then the guy who said this happened, quoted, according to this guy, there's a lot of stuff in the locker room. I'm like Tony, looks like somebody's faking your account. because he kind of he doesn't cover it closely, but
No.
and then I see the 07 at the end, and funny now, right before that account was suspended, it changes its post to Gophers suck. So their most recent post is Gophers suck before they were suspended. So a little bit interesting there. Just trying to think of what else, like I said, we're trying to push more content here on YouTube. Viggs, you captured a bunch of audio today. I'm going to try to put that together and put it out there. And I know it's a lot of audio. I don't know if I can go through it right now or play it now, because it seems like there's some long clips there, but
yeah, Bob talked to us for about 12 minutes.
Okay.
He's not a guy to shy away from the critiques out there. Like, he knows. he's like, I know a lot of you fans are upset. He's like, I feel it. I'm upset too. He joked that Shelley locked him out of the house, and that, he's spent a lot of time at the office and trying to figure this out. But also, he knows not to overcoach through this too. Part of what makes a Gopher hockey player is a little bit of flair and a little bit of skill and a little bit of fancy. And you just have to hope that you've put together a roster with enough hard helmet guys. That's why a guy like Harris gets added to the roster. That's why a John Middlestat's on the roster, because you can't have all fancy pants guys. You got to have some guys that are going to dig the ditches and, pull out the hammers and
the blue collar guys
and go after it and be consistent. You need to have guys who understand that tying a shift and handing the momentum to the next line is a powerful thing in college hockey. Greg Brown talked about that with BC at Minnesota. He's just like, that was a good lesson for his guys to just weather the storm and just hope that the next shift things change. And you heard on the UMD bench, get through this. This is the best they got.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out that was true for them. And I think a little bit is that belief that it is that, because the flip side is, holy smokes, we're getting blitzed here, guys. Come on, pull it together. That's a different perspective. And I think that's crept into Gopher hockey a little bit this year, is like, poor me. That Bruce Boudreau speech is just coming through my head every time I think about Gopher hockky.
Get over it. So what if they scored a few goals? I love that.
Quit feeling sorry for yourselves. You get to play for the University of Minnesota. Go out there and show that that's exciting and that you're happy with that opportunity. And you've got a lot of support here if you figure it out. So you just hope that that's the side that comes out of it, and not the side that came out last year, where everyone's like, well, this isn't working out. I'm going to sign my pro deal at the end of the year and move on. I don't need to listen to the coaches. I just need to listen to the scout from Buffalo
yapping in my ear,
or Ottawa, saying how great it will be to sign after this year. You can get out of that place. You want players who say, I want to make a difference. And I think that's the difference between championship teams and average teams, is having enough guys who buy into that mindset of, yeah, it's going to be hard. That's why I want to do it.
Any strange lines today? Any new lines? You noticed the lines at all today?
I unfortunately did not get to see anything other than a lot of special teams.
Which everything's jumbled anyway.
There's a strong emphasis on penalty kill today, and clearing pucks, and being hard on battles, and anything loose, how to engage, how to use your body, how to position yourself, how to be hard on your stick, how to take a face off and throw your stick through the other player's stick to win the draw. I don't care that his stick got there first. Win the draw. There's a lot of that mindset stuff going on, how to engage
like
the
that.
player before you get to the puck.
I like that.
I mean, people can say what they want, but like this coaching staff knows hockey. Like they know what they're doing. It's just whether the players can absorb it fast enough and execute on it.
Oh, Jared Klein. I wonder if Kurth regrets for leaving. Riding a bus in the ECHL.
Is he in the ECHL now?
I
With
don't.
I don't. Solar Bears?
Somebody mentioned Solar Bears earlier.
Because I don't think he's in Syracuse.
Okay, so boy,
anymore.
I have less problem with Kurth leaving. Yeah, he did. He graduated. That's honestly admirable. He's like, I graduated. I want to try to work, on the future. I just have less problem with that. Even if he doesn't have a long, professional career, I do like that he at least graduated. And I don't think Don would have a problem with him. Don's always like, if leaving too early is tough, but he got his education. I
don't think Don would have driven Kurth to the bus station, though.
Maybe not.
You usually want to drive him to the airport.
Maybe, but
if you're riding the bus in the ECHL,
that's what college hockey's for too.
It should be.
So Orlando Solar Bears. Can he still come back? Can he be our 26th player? Yeah, I think we determined it's only for new players coming in that haven't played, but still, he's a pro. Come on, let's do what other schools have done.
He's only played 12 pro games. He could come back, but I don't think he regrets leaving. I think he was ready to move on. So I don't think that's the issue with him. I'd be interested to see more about like Ryan Chesley. He's a player that it seemed like he could have contributed a lot this year.
I don't know. Just watch the comments go by here. Well, that's a good one. If they want to leave, do you really want them to stay?
That's 100% my point. Is we had a saying in college: if you don't want to, you don't have to. If you don't want to put in the work, if you don't want to put in the discipline, you don't have to. We want to find someone who does. It wasn't that we're going to make you, or we're going to haze you, or we're going to disrespect you, but we want someone who does want to put in that effort, and they're going to pass you eventually. And those are the players you want to have on your roster. And, that's always the hard part with recruiting, I think, is, when you get the keys to a place like Minnesota, are you able to read through the fog and find guys like that? I think that happened to Brad Berry a little bit at North Dakota, not finding the right fits and then having to fill holes in the portal. And those fits are maybe, just temporary and more transactional. And it's hard to sustain and win when you're doing that. And so I think that's one of the reasons why Motzko was hesitant to go the CHL route, because you're not getting transformational relationships that way. It's getting faster the transaction. If you've got guys who are saying, hey, what's the NIL situation there, as opposed to what's my development like, that's a transactional relationship real quick. And is that the best way to build a team? So I think these are the arguments I'm sure coaches think about when they're doing their overtime with other coaches and advisors.
It's going to be interesting because let's throw it out there. They finished last or second to last in the Big Ten, don't make the tournament. Is Bob's job in trouble? I'm thinking it could be in that case. There's only a couple of years left on his contract. You could just kind of, let it run its course. I don't know. I'm just.
If it were to get ugly, you have a Don Lucia situation where like Don and Joel came to an understanding that
It's time.
it's time. And I think everyone realizes that. On the flip side, Bob has probably the top recruiting class of the country coming in 2 years, signed up to come.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe the slight difference there. That he would.
That's
like to
true.
probably see that.
We know that they weren't happy with what the Don and staff left them on the defensive end when Bob took over. It was not good.
Yeah, recruiting at the end of the Lucia era was very suspect. A lot of keys have been handed over to Grant Bertolini at that point. And I think Mike Genzel didn't have a lot of say in the recruiting picks at that point. And it was a very shaky time. And Scott Bell came in and he was trying to get Minnesota to recruit a little more aggressively. And I don't think he had the keys either. It was a very challenging end of that era where you had the coaches going 4 different directions all the time.
Boy, Scott Bell cared, though. He really
cared.
did. Oh, my goodness. Because even after he was gone, you would see him tweet certain things and retweeting, and he loved still tweeting that fish gif, of Herbie and stuff like that. I haven't seen him so much as lately because he's busy, but for a few years there, he was still very involved in how the team was doing.
Yeah. I think Scott still had in his back of his mind, maybe there's a way to get back into coaching and help Minnesota, because he was a guy that turned down a lot of money to go to Denver to basically pay his way to prove himself at Minnesota, and he became a captain. Those are guys that you just can't manufacture. Those are the guys you hope to have at Minnesota that really can make an impact. And I think he's a guy that still cares deeply about this program.
Definitely does.
Always a good perspective when I run into you, Scotty.
No, I love that for at least 2 or 3 years after he was gone. It's like
he's a little quieter on the social media these days. So.
He is quieter. Yeah. Who knows? Now it'll be. Well, here's the deal: we always have something to talk about. If it's good, if it's bad, if it's mediocre, people are complaining. No matter what, it's not good enough or it's terrible. We've got plenty to talk about here, don't we?
We do. And I mean, one of the things I was thinking about today is just like, if you do have a bunch of departures, how soon do you start pulling up the kids again? Because it's just something that you find yourself in the cycle of doing, and it's so tempting, It's so tempting to pull in the guys that like you project them to be such good players, and when you put them in roles they're maybe not ready for, it's probably not best for both parties, but it's so tempting to do. I just hope it doesn't get to that point again.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, like Boston College and Boston University are both more than a year younger than Minnesota on average.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because right now Minnesota's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9th in the country in youngest teams. At 21.3 years of age, Boston University 20.1, Boston College 20.11. So it's as close as you can get. And the next closest is 20.9 with Michigan. That's you can get a lot of younger. I tell you, we're young, but like I said, there's that Boston University, Boston College are just in another league.
But here's the thing with Minnesota is I feel like it's the older guys who aren't stepping up to the plate. Besides Middlestead, if you look at the roster, it's just like you need more from Brody. You need more from the other Brody. You need more from Jimmy. You need Leo to keep going. You need Paulson to keep going.
We need Paul. Yeah.
Like it's probably not fair, but you need those 6 guys to pull their weight and become impact players, because you can't hide on the third line with those 6 guys. They've got to step up and be. I had a coach acquaintance of mine who said, if you want to be an All-American, you got to score 40 goals or you got to save a few breakaways. It's just like, you can't just score 10 or 15 goals and be an NCAA tournament team and be an all-conference player. Like, that's not going to get it done. And you need your sophomores and juniors and seniors to fill those roles. When the coaches named their all-conference teams, I thought Luke Middlestat was the big miss there, but all those forwards, none of those guys are preseason all-conference. None of those guys are on, national Hobie watch lists.
Yeah. You wanted me to add the number of blocks to the stats. And I was able to do that. Luke Middlestead, 25 blocks. Whipple, 23. The next is down to Lamb at 12. So really, Whipple and Middlestead are the kings of block shots back there. But that also makes those two vulnerable. They've been playing pretty good on defense, and you can't afford to lose either of those guys to, a shot off the knee or something, because they're doing their job by blocking.
Well, you worry about a broken foot, with
that
guys
too.
Like that. And I don't know if they wear shot blockers with this group. That's kind of a thing in college that not a lot of guys do, like they do in the pros. But it also means they're defending a lot too. When you're leading the country in block shots, it means you're spending a lot of time in your D zone as well. It's great to see guys sacrificing for the team, but you'd like to see them have a little bit more possession where you're forcing the other team to block shots.
Yeah, and I'm looking, like centers who take the bulk. I can't, say, August Fullen is 1-0 on faceoffs. Of course, he's got 100%, but the first real one, Tanner Ludke, he's 66 for 65 or 65 for 66. 50.4%. And then when you get to it, you're getting to a Jimmy Clark who's at 47. Who takes quite a few faceoffs. Paulson's at 43.5%. We got to have those kind of guys step up their game.
Yeah,
because they're taking key faceoffs, especially on the penalty kill.
Yeah, I mean, Ludke's your best faceoff guy right now, and he's out for another week at least.
And he's just at 50.4%, right? 50%. So Whipple needs to lean into. Okay, let's bring it up. Let's bring up Max's comment. Mr. Dog fan himself. He needs to lean into the right. Well, he was getting under AMD's skin Saturday, and is one of the only people on the roster who's big enough to back up the top. There's plenty of big guys on the roster. How about that thing there, V's? How about let's be more physical? We've got huge size. Why isn't Javon Moore just using his size in front of the net, pushing guys out of the way?
Well, we talked about this with Jack Ramsey when he was on, because he knows Javon Moore better than any of us. And it's just like learning that that's the way that you're going to make millions of dollars at the next level is something that needs to get through to them. They have to understand that you have a unique ability to impact a game if you can do that every shift. And as Matthew Nyes showed, it's hard. Like when he went to the Olympics and he's got the bloody face and he's just got the full, breath going, and he's engaged and raged, and, being able to do that every shift is a skill. And it's just something that some of these guys need to figure out. Can they do that? Because there are guys who are big and have skill and can get away with it, but it's very rare that a big skill player can just get away with it all the time. There's not very many Jaromir Jagr, Mario Lemieux out there.
True.
But there's a lot of guys who can play like a Taychuk or an Eyes and carve out a really nice career if you can find a way to do that consistently. And that was something I noticed with Nyes, like right from the first practices with Minnesota, how hard he played, how hard he competed. He always got the knock from scouts about his skating. Never a concern with me, because when he battles, he was able to have contact with other players and still get his strides in and still separate. And if you can separate after contact, I think you're going to be okay. And these guys just need to figure out how to do that if they're going to be successful. And the potential's there. That's why they recruited these guys. If Beckett and Moore and Pritchard and Falloon can ever figure that out, they could have nice careers. But until they
should
do,
be flying in the zone on the forecheck. They should just be getting to the guy.
And that's hard to do when you're tired. And that's what I talk about with shift management. I talked about with Motzko again today. And, you have to learn how to manage your shift and how to use your energy and how to end your shift efficiently and transition it, and how to recognize when the other team's tired and to press and push, or recognize that you're on your heels and you have to survive and have enough energy to make the play when it presents itself. Because you can't just go chase play all the time. You have to be patient enough to go, when is chasing the play going to be effective? Because otherwise you're just a dog chasing your tail. Dogs aren't very smart. You got to be like the wolf or the shark who knows when to attack. How's that?
A lot of learning still.
How's that for coaching? I got my Minnesota Hockey Futures Development Program shirt on because it's a teaching day.
Big's bringing everyone to school today.
Trying to. It's a mindset change. And, talking with guys, I bet if you went up and down the roster with guys who were on bad youth teams who struggled, Leo Gruba's answer would be pretty unique. I can't imagine not many guys on this roster went through an 0-15 stretch as a youth player ever. Yeah. You talked about Axel Begley. He's like, we had 1 year at Hill Murray where we kind of struggled, but I think we still made it to state. It's just like, okay,
they're not wrong. They're not wrong there. Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, maybe they lost to White Bear Lake. I don't want to look it up on Strip Varsity or anything, but I'm sure they just weren't dominating.
Where was Myers? Was he at Buffalo? Where was
Delano?
Delano.
He's a Delano player.
So they had some success when he was there, but
it's different success too.
Yes. When will the final roster slot be used? We don't even know if it will be.
Well, I think you'd have to use it at midseason because you have to have them eligible for school to be on the roster. So it's not like pro hockey where they could just add somebody right now. They'd have to wait until break. And I kind of keep waiting to ask that question in non-specifics to Bob. It would probably be closer to the midseason break.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, if you were to add a 26 player to your roster, what's that process look like?
But honestly, if he wants to do that, he has to start planning now because after Ohio State in the beginning of December, his Minnesota mind is turned off, done.
I mean, if they have anybody, it's probably already kind of in progress right now.
Okay.
Like you don't all of a sudden just decide that in December, hey, we're going to add somebody. You've got people in mind that you've got coaches scouting and you're talking to advisors and you're saying, okay, if we were to add somebody, would you be interested? Do you have your academic transcript ready to go so that you could enroll? You have to have all the things buttoned up before you do that. Because they purposely left that one spot if they wanted to add somebody.
It's interesting. I just don't know whether pick 5 points this weekend and you pick 5 points, but boy, I am not confident in that guess at all.
If I was betting my pizza money, I put the over under at probably 2.5. Because I mean it's a fragile thing right now. This team, it just is, unfortunately.
So I have to go for 6. Well, Max, you're totally a college hockey guy. Yes, you're a UMD guy, but you're a college hockey guy, and there's a difference out there. That's probably why a lot of us guys, between schools and stuff, guys and gals, whatever, we get along so well because it's the college hockey thing first, and then obviously we concentrate on the Gophers and you concentrate on UMD, but we all have the same stories. We all have the same frustrations. We're all trying to adapt to this new college hockey world. So,
and I'm happy to see Minnesota Duluth back going again. It's always fun to talk to Scott Sandlin when his team's playing well and they're hard to play against. I think he recognizes how lucky he is to have that line of Plant, and Shagabe.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty special.
Keep them healthy. Keep them healthy.
Talking to Matt Wellens, he's just like, yeah, they are fun to watch. it's a trio that has so much energy and hockey sense, and
but when it does come playoff time, you got to have more than that, because certain defensive teams can shut down lines, and so Minnesota couldn't do it because we're not team defensively there. So
yeah, that was a weekend where the bounces went to the Plants because they earned them. They earned those bounces. They're in the right spots and they were ready, and that goes to a big point. Like right now, sometimes when you see Minnesota get a positive bounce, the player who's going to receive it isn't ready. Like their body's not in a position where if they did get a good bounce, they could take advantage of it.
And then all of a sudden, the chance is gone.
Right. So sometimes luck is skill, timing, and being ready to receive the luck.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for the lucky bounce. And sometimes I feel like if you're at the end of the shift and you get gifted a breakaway because of a weird bounce off a block shot and you're exhausted, you got to figure out how to make that an advantage situation for your team. It's not going to be a scoring chance, but it could be possession. So don't throw it away. Don't just give it back. Find a way to make something out of lemon. Make some lemonade.
Oh, we can only hope.
This is kind of uncharted territory for us covering this team. Like, I don't know if we've seen anything like this. I feel like sometimes when it's been bad, it's just been bad. It hasn't been like where there's hope.
Well, it doesn't help when a couple times Bob's like, "Yeah, we were this close. We're this close. We're getting to where we wanted to play." And then all of a sudden, since he said that a couple times, at North Dakota and I think against BC, it's just been,
yeah,
that this is becoming this.
I still think, like, when we saw them play BC, they dominated play, and they should have got the win, except the BC goalie kind of stood on his head there.
And they got transitioned and boom.
Yeah, they got one transition play, and that was Dauber Downer. When they played Michigan Tech and they got in transition, they looked unstoppable. That the game against North Dakota, like, they looked difficult to play against. In terms of, like, Ryan talking about the vibe in the locker room, we don't get to see the whole team. No. We only got to talk to Begley and Gruba this week, so we don't know the whole vibe in the locker room. I will say the team kind of got bag skated today a little bit, which was kind of surprising to me because they're kind of shorthanded, and I think guys are going to have to play a lot of minutes this weekend at times. But it wasn't like dead silence out there. You heard guys pushing each other. You heard guys encouraging them to like finish the skate. And I mean, that's encouraging because if it's a team that's just kind of headed downhill, like it's a silent skate at that point. You're just mad at the coach making you skate. You're frustrated with your role and your state in life. And that wasn't the vibe I picked up. It was a team that's just like, yep, this is a challenge. Let's embrace it. Let's get through it. You know, Gruba is one of those guys who's put in the work this year. So I think the bag skate for him is nothing. He's like, I got this. I need to see Lamb and Ziemer put in the work this week. That's my canary in the coal mine.
The Brodies
group. I need the Brodies. They're my canaries in the coal mine with this team because I think for this team to be good, those two need to be engaged.
Can't disagree.
So it's probably not fair to put it on those guys, but I look at this roster and they need those players to play well. And they need those two players to create their own luck and not be sitting on the sidelines hoping to pick up scraps and take advantage. So
take control. We're looking for leadership on the ice, and it can't be just, Middlestead in the back end or whatever. Take control of the game. Put the team on your back. We saw Myers do that. We've seen other players do that.
And I think what those guys need to do sometimes too is be like, okay, I need to hold on to the puck and I need to create opportunities for other people and then build on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the things that Matthew Nyes did so well when he was playing with Snuggerud and Cooley is that he sacrificed a lot of maybe personal stats to keep them involved and buy space for them.
So well. He protected the puck so well.
And I don't see any reason why Ziemer and Lamb can't be those kind of guys. Like they have the physical tool sets and the battle level to buy that time rather than being the guys who benefit from someone else who does that. So I'm just waiting to see that. I don't know. That's one of the great things about sports is everybody gets to watch. It's not like taking a math test where you can hide in your little cube and fill out the answers and no one knows. Everyone gets to see the results out there.
Hey. Let's go. We're waiting. We're just waiting, guys.
Yeah, Bob's also frustrated. He's also waiting.
I bet he is. He is.
And I think he's an experienced enough coach not to just burn it to the ground and just like take away any chance of confidence. He's also waiting to see it. And I'm sure he's just as vocal to those players in film.
So. I'd also like to see Paulson step it up a bit.
But I'm not expecting
because I thought before he was injured last year,
yes,
he was a good setup man,
mm-hmm.
A very good setup man. He's 2 goals and 1 assist on the season in 10 games.
He was really good about buying time and space. He had the ability to hold on to puck and find.
Where is that?
Right. And I think part of that is like shift management. Like he's not in the right phase of his shift when he has the puck to do anything productive with it at that point. I think that's the biggest opportunity. I remember watching the Saturday UMD game and just seeing the panic in some of the players when they had the puck. You can just tell, like, there's not a confidence. Like, they had the puck and all of a sudden they're looking around, like they're not moving their feet. They're not buying themselves an extra second by protecting the puck. They're just trying to look. Okay, I got it. Where am I going to get rid of it to?
Mm-hmm.
You can't play that way at this level. Like the effort and energy of
you'll get eaten alive.
You'll get eaten alive. And so when you get into a state like that, where that's your mindset, whereas I get the puck, where am I going to move it to? Rather than
and don't be afraid to make a mistake too.
Well,
you know, I mean,
don't be afraid making a play with the puck where you're moving it with your feet and then making a pass that you see versus just getting it and trying to get rid of it or trying to one touch it away to someone else. And, you know, everybody else is looking at the puck going, why are you giving it to me? I'm covered. My feet aren't moving. Mm-hmm. You know, that's just such a tough place to be.
Yeah.
All crew, no passengers, you know? And that's one of the things about Middlestat that's been so good is, like, he pushes the pace. When he has the puck, he's trying to move and make plays. When Ziemer is playing well, that's what he's doing, is like he's pushing the play when he gets the puck. When he was playing the World Junior Summer Showcase with Stiga and Hagens, like, they were so dynamic because they were constantly moving with the puck and forcing other people into tough decisions. And when you're standing still and you're looking to get the puck to people who are also standing still, like, that just can't happen.
A lot of comments tonight. A lot of comments.
I know we're doing some therapy here. I hope we're doing some good work for people.
Make people feel better. And hopefully make ourselves feel better too.
Well, I just think, like, this stretch of 4 games is critical. Like, it is critical because Penn State and Denver are not going to be easy at the end of the month. And it's not because McKenna is like this deity of college hockey. It's just like, that's a pretty deep team right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just McKenna. You know, you're going to have lots of challenges with that roster. And Denver, by the end of November, probably will have it figured out. They're not going to be dropping games to Ferris and Alaska anymore. Who else did they lose to? I think it was somebody decent too.
No, I don't remember anymore.
Ferris, Alaska, and I guess not. Lindenwood. It wasn't Ferris. Who am I thinking of that lost to Ferris?
I worry more about Long Island next weekend.
Yeah, they've been good.
They've been good, and the way the Gopher fans are, a loss, even a split, is just, they're gonna get hammered.
Yeah,
it's got to be sweep, and preferably by 2 or 3 goals each night or more. I don't think it's going to be that way. It's going to be a little more challenging to that, but if they split that series, for one thing, it hurts them big time in the rankings. But it's it would mentally be bad for the Gopher fan base.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how MPI works. I feel like there's games that you can drop from your
but at home, at home hurts.
Yep, that would be terrible.
So
Denver's losses are Lindenwood, Northeastern, and Alaska Anchorage. So and a tie against Air Force.
Yeah, Northeastern's in your top 20. So
yeah, Northeastern.
Yeah, Northeastern was there, weren't they?
Yeah, they just swept.
Yeah, number 13th. Yeah,
they just swept BC.
Yeah,
so Northeastern's 5-1. They've got 2 wins over BC, Denver, UMass, and Holy Cross. So good start for them, and they now play Stonehill, Connecticut BU. So Northeastern in good shape.
Yeah. All right, I'm getting tired.
I am too. I had over 2.5 hours on the ice tonight, so I got my work in too.
I just mowed the lawn, but that's all I did.
Yeah, Opit's Mow Time is giving me lots of feedback on how to prepare your lawn for winter. So you gotta lower the blades going into winter, right?
Yeah.
Mulch some of the leaves.
So that's you see, I got rid of a lot of leaves, but mulched quite a bit in.
Mulch quite a bit. Yeah.
And it's just frustrating because November is when the lawn looks the best. It is so green. There are no weeds. It looks fabulous right now. Especially after you mow it and like all that mulch goes down and it's so dark green. I was just thinking that today. I'm going, this sucks. It'll be frozen and it'll start to go dormant real soon here. So
it's been a good year for growing grass.
It hasn't been bad. We had a really good spring. It didn't really, the previous year really dried out, but this year was good. Definitely good. So
as I sign off tonight, I would just encourage anyone who's listening, if they're a golf fan as well, I'm putting this in the chat. There's a petition here to save Les Bolstad Golf Course. I got my last round in there on the 30th, and then they hosted the state cross country meet this past weekend. I prefer if the university did not sell the course. So if you wanted to sign this petition, I appreciate it.
Okay. Go over to media assets right now, please.
Media assets.
Go to media assets. Open up the QR code. Add that link in there.
Okay.
Now, let me turn off the chat here while you're doing that. It's showing on the screen. And then we can probably bring that right up. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
It's a little bit. So there is the link to help for people viewing. If you're viewing on your computer right now, take a QR code photo of that to help save Les Bolstad.
Yep, over 2,000 people. 2135 has signed this petition so far. It's a great 142-acre property in the Falcon Heights neighborhood. The golf team has a fantastic little facility there to practice. There's a driving range there that's one of the best ones to access in the metro. A lot of student golf is played there, like over 4,000 rounds. I think they get over 40,000 to 50,000 rounds played there. A lot of green space in the city that will just disappear if it gets sold. And I made a birdie on 16 there last week as I played my potential last round there. And if you're not familiar, 16 is a very difficult 390-yard uphill par 4 that I made about a 40-foot putt on for a good memory. And I hope I can do that next year as well. So I hope you
obviously I am not a golfer, but I do believe we had one of our Rubes hockey days or golf days at Les Ball. It might have been the last kind of big Rubes golf day we had, actually.
Yeah.
About 15 years ago, but it always shows up in those Facebook memories. And P. Join did a video of all of us playing. It was fun. So it's a fun course.
I remember making a big putt on 18 on camera that day as well.
Evidence that
I can make a putt from here or there. So
if you're watching later on, if you're watching, sometime this week on YouTube, use that QR code. Can you also so it's hold on here, let me see here, just give me 1 second. So it's www.change.org/P/save-less-golf-for-future-generations. Can you type that out while I'm saying it?
I think I need to use a Z link from the U of M at some point to make that simpler, but It's sad. It's a course
It sucks, definitely.
It's got like $12 million in deferred maintenance
Ugh.
because no one's invested in it for years. But great piece of land. If they cleaned it up, it would be a great place for women's college golf. They had a U.S. amateur qualifier there, and like some of the best golfers in the state were struggling to get to like 4 or 5 under at the course. I remember Luke Donald played in the Big Ten championships at Les Bolstad, and his weekend score was like 9 under. So fun place. Thanks for
trying to save it.
Thanks for humoring me with your patience on this one as I get that on there, because I've thought about bringing it up on other podcasts, and
well, there you go.
Bringing up this one.
That's a good time. It's just us two next week too. And then we got Cappy coming on for Penn State, so that's when things get really serious, and that's when things going to be like, if you can get more than a split against Penn State, that would really put us in the right direction. So
that would be Madaba would be up then.
Oh yes, definitely.
I can't believe Penn State, Michigan State isn't on a better situation this weekend. If I was college hockey czar, we would find a way to get this on ESPN.
Well, ESPN's one thing, but it's not even on Big Ten Network.
It's not even on Big Ten. It's just on streaming right now.
Oh,
as of yesterday.
Yeah, they would have to go to Thursday. You got to go Thursday, Saturday. It's the only chance you get the Thursday AM on. That's what they did last week with the doubleheader. It's Thursdays tonight because volleyball tends to be Wednesday and Friday nights, and obviously college basketball is really kicking in now, so it's tough.
If I go to my top 20 article, I put what was on there. There's a Harvard football
on ESPN.
On ESPN.
Oh, they don't have a contract with ESPN.
There's a basketball game on Big Ten Network. It's like Wisconsin against,
which is going to get better. It'll get better ratings than any hockey.
I know, but like you get what you put out of it. There's FS1 has Houston at UCF football, which probably will get good ratings. It's Northern Illinois against Wisconsin, and ESPN has Tulane at Memphis. It's just like,
I mean, they could put it on their ESPN Plus, but then you're in the same situation, added streaming, right. and I guess we'll be able to watch the games because we get the B1G Plus. So,
like I commented in my article, if you follow GPL and got the BTN Plus discount, you'd be in good shape. So,
if you watch highlights that are retweeted and stuff like that show the BTN games, usually at the end of those clips, there is a 30% off code that shows. So watch, when they post highlights from the BTN for hockey on those, or I guess it could be for anything. Because a lot of times they sneak in a little screen at the end of the clip that says 30% off. So if you don't have it, you can get 30%. We had that 50% off again. A lot of people used. I'm glad you could use it because full year, it was like full year at $45. Jeez, that was a bargain, I think.
Great deal.
Yeah, it is a great deal. So, what's this? I got a bunch of. Oh, it's just those quotes from before. So, all right, gang, call it a night here, Viggs. Ready to go?
Call it a night. Let's hope for a good weekend. They really could use it,
to say the least. Good night, gang. Sick of being depressed. I need some positivity.